Hey there, it's Stephen Gates from myplctraining.com, and I want to welcome you to this free training that I created for you so that I can give you an exact roadmap on how to become a confident PLC programmer. And so we're going to walk through those steps in order and so you know exactly what to do after this training. So I just wanted to say welcome. I'm going to shrink this video down into the corner and we'll get started with the training. Alright, so here's what you can expect from this training today. So first of all, I'm going to walk you through the roadmap that I use to help electricians and technicians become confident PLC programmers. So it's going to be packed with helpful information that you can put to use right away. This will include what types of training you should focus on to master the skill of PLC programming, and I'll even tell you how you can get free PLC programming software from Rockwell Automation to start practicing on your own. And then at the end of the training, I'm going to offer you access to the training course that I built that will follow the exact roadmap we lay out here. But I should say that regardless of whether you use and join my training or not, you can still use this roadmap that I'm going to cover for free to chart your own PLC programming path. And you'll know exactly what types of things you need to learn to become a confident PLC programmer. So, before we jump into the training content, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why you should listen to me and what I have to say today. So, my name is Stephen Gates again. I've been programming PLCs professionally for about 7 years and loving it. I started from scratch in college and spent many long hours on the job since then programming, setting up automation and communications for the electrical equipment that my company builds and other industrial machines such as generators. And I won't lie, some of those long hours that I spent on the job were pretty painful. I struggled with a lot of my own programming errors or others' programming errors. I struggled with equipment problems, and my biggest foe was communication problems. But with all that said, I can also say that many of those hours were really fun and exciting, whether it was creating and testing customized logic for electrical switchgear or generators, or solving really interesting problems for customers, or even building and coding my own PLC simulator. Being a PLC programmer has definitely been a very fulfilling and rewarding career, not only financially, but in terms of job fulfillment. So, not only have I been programming PLCs for 7 years, but since 2016, I started training others on how to program PLCs themselves. So I started my PLC training in January 2016 and found that there were a ton of electricians and technicians who, like yourself, were very interested in learning PLCs to give them that edge in their career. So I've created blog posts, I've created video lessons, email courses, quizzes, programming exercises, etc. And spent many hours on the phone helping my students. So not only that, lately I've been training my own coworkers on how to program PLCs, create HMI graphics, and set up automation communications. And here's what's really great. So far, I've even had a couple of my students who've actually gotten their first PLC programming jobs just a few months after starting my training. So that's really exciting for me to see and be a part of because I love helping electricians and technicians become confident PLC programmers and transform their careers as a result. And that leads us to today's training, where I'm going to show you the exact steps you need to take to become a confident PLC programmer in 90 days or less, so that you can advance your career without having to take a bunch of time off work and spend thousands for expensive training. And yes, all of that is possible even if you're a complete beginner with PLCs. The path is actually pretty simple, as you'll see today. It's not going to be easy to get there, to make it happen, because it takes time, takes effort, but the path is simple to follow to get to your goal of becoming a confident PLC programmer. So that's what I'm going to show you. The 3 big things you need to focus on to get confident with PLCs. The first thing you need to focus on is your PLC foundation. All that means is you need a firm grip on the basics of PLCs, what they are, how they work, what the different parts and pieces are in a PLC. In other words, the PLC hardware and the basics of ladder logic programming. Here's how I like to break it down. First, understanding the what and how of PLCs, like how it takes inputs in, makes logical decisions, and then it takes those inputs and produces output changes. Next is understanding the different parts and pieces of a PLC system. So this is the PLC hardware part. What is the controller? What are the input and output modules? Analog, discrete? How do you know which module to use? How do you wire these up anyway? And then the third part of building a solid foundation in your understanding of PLCs is getting exposed to ladder logic programming. So ladder logic was the original programming language used to program PLCs, and it's still very important and popular in industrial automation. So here's a hint on why you should stay tuned to the end of this training. I'm going to show you where you can get Rockwell PLC programming software for free, and their PLC emulator software so you can actually test your PLC logic in an emulated PLC. So definitely stick around for that. Okay, so getting this first big thing done will be huge. You'll go from confusion to clarity, confused and overwhelmed with PLCs to clear on what PLCs do, parts and pieces in a PLC, and the basics of ladder logic programming. So that's a huge jump right there. Just getting to this point will be a big milestone for you, and you will make your journey towards becoming a confident programmer much easier. So that's the PLC foundation. Okay, the second big thing you need to focus on is software. So after you focus on getting a solid foundation and understanding how PLCs work, then you need to spend more time on the software. So before we talk about software in depth, you need to learn something about modern PLCs, because most of what you'll actually be working on as a quote-unquote PLC programmer are PACs. So real quick, PACs are just programmable automation controllers versus PLCs, which are programmable logic controllers. And in practice, there's not a whole lot different except that PACs are more modern and powerful and flexible, but they both automate machinery and industrial equipment. Anyway, these PACs are more software heavy, and as a programmer, you're going to spend a lot of time working with the software. So if you're looking to learn Rockwell Allen Bradley PLCs and PACs, which is what we train here, you'll definitely be using Studio 5000 Logix Designer software to program Compact Logix and Control Logix PACs. Now this is an incredibly powerful software package. It allows you to do some really cool and complex things, but it takes some time to get comfortable with it. So before you really start mastering logic programming, which is where you're headed as a confident PLC programmer, you need to learn just the layout and basic functions of the software. So to sum up big thing number 2, which is mastering PLC and PAC software, let's summarize the 3 mini goals you need to accomplish to get there. Okay, so first learn about PACs and understand the differences between PLCs and PACs. This will set the stage for understanding the software you'll use most. Next, focus on learning how to set up basic PAC project in the Logix Designer software. And this software is going to be where you'll spend many, many hours as a programmer. So learn how to set up your project with I/O modules and tags, and you'll be well on your way. Then the third mini phase of this big thing of software is learning up how to set up communications from your Studio 5000 Logix Designer software to a real PAC, such as a Control Logix or Compact Logix controller, or even an emulator PLC or PAC. That way, you can download, test, and run your ladder logic once you start programming some code. So, at this point, you will have gotten very comfortable with the basics of the PAC programming software, Studio 5000 Logix Designer, and you will have gone from a blank slate to a fully configured PLC program or PAC program. fully configured for you to start creating and testing real automation programs. So this is the part that gets really fun. So you've got basics of PLCs under your belt, you've got the basics of the software. Now you can start getting into the programming side of things. So that brings us to the final big thing, number 3, that you need to focus on to become a competent PLC programmer, and that is, of course, programming. To be a confident programmer, you need to spend time practicing, troubleshooting, and mastering programming logic. I recommend that people spend most of their time with ladder logic programming, especially in the beginning, since that's what most machines are still programmed with. Plus, it's probably the easiest to learn on for electricians. But I also think you should learn some structured text programming eventually, which is another programming language that is widely used in industrial automation. So here's how I recommend my students break up the programming phase of their journey towards becoming a confident PLC programmer. First, get really comfortable with ladder logic, since this is what most PLC programmers still use right now. Second, throw some structured text programming in there so that you at least understand the basics of how structured text works. And then lastly, work on your problem-solving skills. Being a good programmer means you're going to be doing a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of problem-solving, whether the problems are in your program or in somebody else's program or in the equipment you're trying to automate. You'll constantly be troubleshooting something. You need to get good or get better at solving problems. So once you've mastered ladder logic, learned some structured text, and spent some time troubleshooting and problem-solving automation problems, you will have gone from being shaky with automation to truly being a confident PLC programmer. And that will be an awesome gift to give yourself, your career, and those that you provide for financially. So there you have it, the 3 big things you need to focus on to go from total beginner to confident PLC programmer in 90 days or less. So again, the 3 big things you need to focus on are: lay that solid foundation in your understanding of PLCs, from the groundwork of how PLCs work, to understanding hardware parts and pieces, to learning the basics of ladder logic programming. This will take you from being confused about PLCs to complete clarity about what PLCs are and what they do, and even how to create basic programming logic. And thing number 2, now you need to get comfortable with the software. That means getting comfortable with the differences between PLCs and PACs, and then beginning to create an actual PAC project in the Studio 5000 Logix Designer software. And then finally, setting up communications to go from your PC to your PLC so that you can go online or download or upload programs to a real PLC or PAC. So this focus will help you go from blank slate to a fully configured PLC program. And now that you'll have a solid foundation and understanding of PAC and PLC software, you'll be ready to start pouring yourself into mastering programming and problem-solving skills. So start with mastering ladder logic, then make sure you get some exposure to structured text, because you'll definitely run into that programming language too. And lastly, to get really solid with your programming skills, start troubleshooting PLC logic and hardware and learning to solve automation problems. You'll go from shaky with automation to truly being a confident PLC programmer. So now that you know what you need to do, you have way more than most electricians and technicians have when they start to learn PLCs. And this is a huge advantage, because now you can focus on the exact things you need to become a confident PLC programmer without getting too distracted and overwhelmed by all the piles of information out there on YouTube and forums, etc. Okay, so where do you go from here? Just like anything, just because you have a simple roadmap to follow to get from point A to point B, that doesn't mean it will be easy. But you can do it. You can become a confident PLC programmer if you focus on the 3 big things we talked about above. So here are your options going forward. You can take this roadmap that I gave you and start working on it one piece at a time, and that's actually a great option if you're good at learning new things on your own, or you have plenty of time to do research on Google, YouTube, and PLC forums. Or if you've got $2,000 or $3,000 to spend on training at a community college, or just by taking a couple of Rockwell Automation 4-day courses, that could be a good option too, although sometimes those are not geared for beginners. And then the third option is, which I think is the best, is if you want to accelerate your path without spending a ton of money on vendor training classes or wasting a bunch of time fumbling through YouTube, blog tutorials. The best option, in my opinion, is that you can join my program called the Confident PLC Programmer Method, part of My PLC Training Academy. And this program will step you through the exact framework we laid out in this free training. I created the Confident PLC Programmer Method for motivated electricians and technicians who want to become confident with PLCs in 90 days or less, so they can advance their skills and their careers without spending a ton of time and money on college or vendor training. Now, real quick, let me just say who this is not for, because it's honestly not for everyone, and I don't want you to sign up if it's not for you. The first person who this is not for is the person who is looking for a quick fix that will take their career from 0 to 100 in 6 seconds. Completing this training does not guarantee that you will get a job as an automation programmer. It's not a quick fix. Yes, you will dramatically increase your skills with PLCs in 90 days, and you can even become very confident as a programmer. But you won't be the best in the world, and you'll still need to prove to your employer or prospective employer that you know what you're doing, since there's no universal PLC certification that I can give you. But if you go through this training, I promise I'll give you all the tools you need to become that confident programmer, and you'll have the confidence to look for new career options in the automation field. Okay, so that's person one. The second person, this is kind of obvious, but if you already understand how to create and troubleshoot ladder logic and structured text programs in compact logics and control logics PLCs, then this course will probably be too basic for you. So you still might pick up some beneficial things, but generally I'd recommend looking for a more advanced training course for the specific automation related subject you want to learn more about. So if you're one of the folks above, no problem. You're welcome to leave this video. No hard feelings. Thanks for attending. I hope you learned something. You're welcome to check out my free training on how to get Rockwell PLC programming software for free. The training is available at myplctraining.com/free mini course, free-mini-course. I think you'll find it valuable. It's definitely not going to be near as valuable as what I'm about to show you, but if you're a self-motivated person, you'll learn some cool stuff there. And so this mini training is already included in the bigger training I'm about to tell you more about in the Confident PLC Programmer Method. So if you're still here, I'd love to now show you the program we have to help you get your automation skills and reach your career goals as quickly as possible. Cool? All right, let's dive in. So welcome to the Confident PLC Programmer Method. I'm very excited to tell you about this because I really believe this program will get you the results you're after to become a confident programmer and advance your career. So hopefully this image looks familiar by now. We have laid out in the training in perfectly step-by-step format to make it simple for you to become a confident PLC programmer. Again, it's not easy, but the steps you need to take are clear and obvious, and we will help make it much less difficult for you to get to your goal. So this training specifically for those that want to learn Allen Bradley and Rockwell PLCs, but if you're brand new to PLCs, you will learn a lot that you can apply with other PLC brands too. So if you're brand new, Allen Bradley is a good platform to learn on. I have been teaching students how to program PLCs for a while now through a couple different courses I created, and many of my students have had great results with my older courses. But lately, I worked really hard to up the value of our training by making this process just dead simple. so that it will be actually difficult for you to fail to get through the training. So let me just say that again, because that might surprise you. I've actually structured this training so that it will be difficult for you to fail. Now, I didn't say impossible, because you still have to carve out the time to do the work. You have to put in the effort. But it will be difficult for you not to complete the training because it is set up in such a step-by-step fashion. So here's what you can expect if, and I hope you do, join the Confident PLC Programmer method. Our training program will take you by the hand and walk you through each of the steps one by one. First, we'll lay the foundation of your understanding of PLCs. So if you're brand new to automation, don't worry. In a couple days, you'll already be more confident with your understanding of PLCs once you start the training. So the first section is the PLC groundwork. And this is the training that lets you hit the ground running. You'll learn exactly what PLC is and how it works. If you're brand new to PLCs, you'll get a big boost of confidence and excitement with PLCs just from this very first training. You'll learn about the most popular Allen Bradley PLCs that you'll be programming, and also walk you through an overview of the different components in a PLC system so that you can start to see the big picture of how each piece of a PLC works together to automate equipment. So this training alone is worth at least $50, which is more than the cost of 1 month of access to the entire program. That's right. This training alone is worth more than access to 1 month of the entire training. But I'll tell you a little bit more about the cost in a little bit later here. So the next training is the hardware laboratory. And this is a really important training that I recently added to help you go a little more in depth with PLC hardware before you start using software and programming. So this will help you understand the exact purpose of each input and output module and how they all fit together to automate a particular machine. So also in this training, I'll show you how these modules are actually wired so that you will have the confidence not only to program, but to eventually design and troubleshoot wiring and circuits if you need to, which is going to be part of the deal as a programmer. So if I sold this training live by itself, it would be at least $100. So this is very valuable, just this small chunk of the training. The next training is the programming foundation. So this is one of my favorites, and I think it will be for you too, because this is where you actually get to start understanding ladder logic programming. You'll learn the 3 most important ladder logic instructions, which you'll use constantly as a programmer, and you'll learn quite a few other instructions as well. You'll actually get a chance to create and test real programs with real Rockwell software, and that's where it starts to get really fun, in my opinion. This is actually an entire course by itself, and I used to sell this training alone for $200, and people loved it, had great results with it. So after you finish this training, you will have a strong foundational understanding of PLCs, and you'll be ready to take on the next phase where you'll go deeper in Rockwell software that you'll be using as a programmer. So that brings us to the second big phase, or the 4th mini phase, which is called the automation expansion. So this training is about expanding your understanding of PLCs by introducing the PAC. So we're expanding what you know about PLCs already to now include the PAC. The PAC is very similar to the PLC, but there are some important differences for you to understand, and I'll tell you about them here. So this training is also where I will introduce the Studio 5000 Logix Designer software, which is a software you'll use a ton as a programmer, and this software is what we focus on throughout the rest of the course. And that brings us to the Project Ready training next. This training is all about getting a fully functional project ready in Studio 5000 Logix Designer. From choosing the controller you need, to naming the project, to setting up your I/O hardware in Studio 5000, we're going to cover all of that. So this will prepare you for the next big phase, the programming phase, and that's where you'll start working on more advanced programming skills. Because you can get good at creating automation logic, but if you don't know how to use the software first, it won't do you much good. So the last training in this software phase is the Get Talking training. So this is where I'll walk you through the exact steps you need to communicate from your computer to a PLC or PAC. And there are multiple different ways to talk from your computer to a PLC, and we will talk about the most important ways in this training. So a lot of people actually struggle when they try to learn this part on their own, but if you go through this training with me, you'll get really confident with how to get your computer connected to a PLC and make sure you can talk back and forth. All right, now we will be in the third phase of the Confident PLC Programmer, and this is my favorite part because this is where you get to focus on programming. So the first training in the programming phase is Climb the Ladder, and as you can guess, this is all about mastering ladder logic and getting comfortable with creating and using ladder logic in Studio 5000. We will review earlier training on the ladder logic and expand it big time to help you get really confident with your understanding of ladder logic. So this is a fun training with lots of opportunities to practice programming, and I think you'll really enjoy it. The next one will also be fun for you, and this is the Get Structured training. This training builds on your knowledge of how to create automation logic, but this time we're going to talk about how to do it in structured text, which is a different programming language than ladder logic. And I'll even show you how you can combine ladder logic and structured text so that you can convert one to the other. And that will bring you to the final training in the Confident PLC Programmer method, which is the problem solver training. So this training is extremely valuable because every job has its problems that have to be solved, and as a PLC programmer, you're going to be solving problems almost every day, if not every day. So this training is about giving you a framework for attacking PLC and automation system problems, and giving you tips and tricks that I picked up along the way to troubleshoot ladder logic specifically. So not only that, we will dig deeper into PLC communications, because honestly, I've spent more time troubleshooting communications than probably anything else. It can be a pain, but this training will help with that. So there you have it. At this point, you will be a confident PLC programmer, ready for the challenges of a career as a programmer. Now, I used to sell the trainings in just the software and programming phases together as one course for anywhere from $350 to $500. But now it's all included in this monthly membership I'm telling you about here. So that's $850 plus worth of PLC training that I've created to help you change the entire trajectory of your career and open up some really exciting possibilities. So you might be thinking that I'm going to offer a 20% or 30% off that price, and that would be a great deal. Honestly, it would. But actually, I think you're going to be surprised when I tell you the real price. But so far, I've walked you through about $850 worth of PLC training, which is what I used to sell this for, all this for, because it's totally worth it. And yes, people actually did pay for it and got great results. But I decided I wanted to do something different because I wanted to create an ongoing monthly membership for my students. So I did this for two reasons. Number one, I'll be totally honest that offering a monthly subscription fee works out better for me as a business model. Even though it's much less money up front for each student, I'm able to reach more customers and have a more stable business with this model. So that's reason number one. I won't sugarcoat it for you. It works good for me. Reason number two, an inexpensive monthly subscription is easier for most of the people that I work with, because I'm really interested in helping motivated electricians and technicians advance their careers, not just the ones with lots of money to throw around. And since this is the type of training that you probably have to pay for on your own, I want to make it manageable. Hey, just interrupting the video here just to let you know that if you want to learn more about the pricing of the training, we don't talk about that here in the video, just to avoid confusion, as the price has changed and possibly could change again in the future. So if you want to learn about the pricing, just look below. There should be Enroll Now buttons. It will take you to the checkout page and you can see the pricing there. Or if you scroll way to the bottom of this page, you'll see the latest pricing as well. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of the video. But when you enroll, you actually get access to my PLC Training Academy. So the Academy is our PLC training membership site that is the home for the Confident PLC Programmer Method course and also several other training resources. So one big advantage of being part of the My PLC Training Academy is the new training you'll get access to as a member. So not only do you get the entire Confident PLC Programmer Method training course, but you get access to all other training that will be added over the months that you are enrolled, or years, hopefully. You can expect to get some sort of new training that will be added to the site every other month, sometimes less often, sometimes more often. And sometimes that means I'll do a live training where you can attend live, ask questions, or you can ask questions ahead of time. I'll answer the questions live. You can watch it later. And that is one of the things I do regularly that my students enjoy. Another big resource that you get as part of my PLC Training Academy is the community forum. So even if you get stuck as you go through the training, all you have to do is jump on the forum and ask your question. Chances are that you'll have an answer in less than 24 hours from me personally. So I personally respond to every single question in there because I'm serious about your success. So my success, my business depends on my students' success. You can bet that I'm serious about helping you become a confident PLC programmer. So if you take advantage of the help I provide in the forum, that alone is easily worth a couple $100. And there's tons of other perks of being a member of my PLC Training Academy. But here's the last one I'll tell you about. And that is access to Studio 5000 Logix Designer. So this one is huge. If you don't already know, Rockwell software can be extremely expensive. In fact, the version of Studio 5000 Logix Designer that I use at my job costs about $8,000. So that's insane. And it's definitely out of the question for an electrician or a technician to pay for that when they're trying to improve their career. But I have a solution for you, and that is that I'll give you software that you can use for free for 7 days. And as long as you're enrolled, you can request a 7-day refresh where I will connect over the phone with you and help you refresh the 7-day trial with my own software license. So as long as you're enrolled, if you're going through Studio 5000 training, your 7-day trial is up, let me know and we'll set up a time to refresh it, so you have another 7 days. And then when that's out, we'll refresh it again and so on. And so don't worry, this is totally ethical. I actually talked to a Rockwell representative about it, and he said they honestly didn't care or couldn't control me doing that. So, not to say they won't change it someday, but for now, I can offer this awesome resource as part of your subscription to my PLC Training Academy. So, this is a huge value considering how much it would cost you to buy the software for yourself. But again, I'm serious about helping you reach your goal on becoming a confident PLC programmer, and giving you access to the right software is it's a critical part of getting there, so that's why I'm doing it. Okay, so that's the offer I have for you, over $1,350 worth of training. And not only that, but the skills you'll develop as a confident PLC programmer method or in the confident PLC programmer method are skills that you can take your career to the next level. So not only is there a ton of valuable features in this training, but again, I work hard to make it difficult for you to fail when you follow the simple steps in the Confident PLC Programmer method. So there's the stack of value, an incredible amount of training resources, including this last one, access to my Rockwell software licenses, which I'm saying is worth about $200, but could easily be worth $2,000 because of how much this software costs. So here's a couple screenshots of average salary ranges for automation technicians and automation specialists in the US, according to LinkedIn. And if you're an engineer, these would be even higher. So why not invest a couple $100 now and advance your skills and add a huge increase to your earning potential? So not only do automation jobs pay well, but PLC programming can actually be a lot of fun. So that's actually even better in my opinion, because there's plenty of jobs you can get that pay well, but having one that you want to do for many years and get a lot of joy and satisfaction out of is extremely valuable. So it's very rewarding and exciting to see your own logic programs control and automate powerful equipment and profitable factory processes. So if you're still with me, I can say with a good degree of certainty that you should enroll in this training program. You're obviously extremely interested in learning PLCs, or you wouldn't have watched these 45 minutes. And the amount of value you can get out of this training, I mean, I've done everything I can to make this a no-brainer for you. I even have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not fully satisfied with the course or your progress within the first 30 days, then I'll give you all your money back. So whether you pay for a month or a whole year, you'll get every cent back. Just send me an email at steven@myplctraining.com and I'll process your refund within 24 hours and cancel your ongoing subscription. No hassle. So if you don't have my email address, you will once you sign up. steven@myplctraining.com. Just get a hold of me somehow, let me know, and I will cancel it for you. No hassle. So if you're still on the fence, my final question for you is, if now is not the time, when is the time? Where will you be in 90 days? Or where will you be in a year? I've given you the roadmap to become a confident PLC programmer so you could advance your career, make more money, not have to take a bunch of time off work, not spending a small fortune on expensive training, and it's all for Allen Bradley Rockwell PLC. So I've given you this roadmap. Are you going to act on it, figure out PLC programming stuff on your own? If so, that's great, but you're going to have to take some sort of action. So you're going to have to do something different than what you've been doing to get to your goal. So please do take action on this information, because it can change your career and your life in a good way. So if you have questions, feel free to use the chat button on the lower right side of your screen to talk to me or someone on my team. I actually get your responses sent directly to my phone, so if I'm able, I usually try to answer within 10 minutes. So, but if I don't, you can definitely expect an answer from me by email soon after that. So if you have any questions now, just click the chat button there and fire away. Again, I respond as soon as I can. So I look forward to seeing what you could accomplish with PLC programming skills. All you have to do to get access is click the button below, choose your pricing plan. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and take care.